everyone, welcome back to another Beyblade Burst Rise unboxing, and today we are going to be looking at a Bey which I kind of forgot about. I had purchased this a while back and then tucked it away, ended up getting preoccupied with unboxing other things as well as getting battles done, and then I was reminded that I had it during a recent upload and from a commenter asking about it. So yeah, we're going to be opening up Glyph Dragon D5, so the third Dragon Bey release for Drum, or I think it's Tonte, if we're talking Hasbro, which we are. And yeah, we'll admire the front here for a moment. So checking out that nice graphic that we get. He's bursting Fafnir and looking pretty sweet, tucked away in the packaging. And let's go over to the back for our listed parts now. So starting with our chip, so it's a right spinning chip, and then we've got our energy layer, so stamina type this time, and down to our forge disc D72, or that Hypersphere version of Sting. And then we've got our performance tip TH10, or the third Hypersphere version of Charge. So I think the previous ones were TH8 and TH14. So yeah, you could probably call this Charge 3 if you wanted. And then our performance stats, so 4 to run time and 2 to drop in rate. So very much reflecting the fact that this is a stamina type. And that'll be it for the packaging. Let's get him opened up. Alright, we are all out of our packaging now, and let's start off by having a look at our chip and energy layer. And here he is, our Glyph Dragon energy layer and chip. So I'm just going to quickly apologize if I sound a bit stuffy at the moment or croaky. I've been sick for a few weeks, just battling a flu, nothing serious. And yeah, back to our Bey. So let's discuss design. I've got these two large curved sections either side here. That's going to help reduce impact from an opponent with those, gliding off them nicely. And then we've also got two sort of deflective surfaces either side, and that's going to give us a small amount of counter attack if an opponent contacts those points well enough. And then let's discuss some differences between the Takira Tomy one and our Hasbro one. So color wise, they've decided to remove anything where the stickers would have been on the energy layer, and that's a little bit different because they tried to include as much as they could with the previous releases from Hasbro of the Dragon Beys, so with Rock Dragon and Ace Dragon, and they've just gone the opposite way this time. And then we've got a small amount of gold missing on the chip itself, on what looks like the wings. And then we've got the exclusion of metal with these Rise Beys as always, and that comes with the weight system just being made out of plastic. So you can see the Takira Tomy one here, which if I just pop out that chip, is actually removable, and you can interchange that with different types. And then with the Hasbro, it's actually part of the molding, and if we pop out the chip, you can see that gives centerpiece there gives just the illusion of it being removable. And yeah, I'll quickly flip that chip over too and give you a moment to grab the QR code. And then, yeah, I'll pop him back on. And the last thing being, of course, we've got the slopes with Hasbro and the teeth on Takira Tomy for their system. And that'll be it for our chip and energy layer. Let's have a look at our forge disk. So you've probably seen this forge disk previously in the other two uploads or unboxings I did of Rock and Ace Dragon. So you probably know a bit about it already, but just in case, we'll go over the differences real quick with the original from Takira Tomy, and you can see that they've slimmed down the metal on it quite a bit. And then we get the removal of the gimmick. So the gimmick was a bit of a spring-loaded frame that was attached to it, but you can attach your own frame to these ones, making them a lot more customizable. And yeah, the forge disc itself is pretty much a defense type with the way it's designed. It's got a moderate amount of weight to it, so not as light as some, but also not as heavy. And let's move on to our performance tip. So here we have all three performance tips from Ace, Rock, and Glyph Dragon. And as I mentioned before, Glyph's is the third version of this performance tip, the Hypersphere version of Charge. And as it progresses through each different one, it goes from lighter to dark in color. So there's Ace Dragons, and then we've got Rocks and Glyphs. And there is a difference between these. It's subtle but effective. So I'm just going to pick them up and line them in a position so you can see what that is. Here we have all three performance tips lined up on a better angle now, to the best I can. It's probably not ideal, but it should suffice for the purpose of showing you the difference I'm talking about. So if you look at the very tip of each of these, you'll notice on the left here, starting off with Ace Dragons, it's actually quite flat compared to the other two. So Rock Dragons has a slightly larger curve to it, and then Glyph Dragon has quite a significant curve on his. Give him a nice round tip there, which will help out with that extra stamina and probably life after death. And then we get a small surface texture change between each of them as well. So it's semi-rough surface here with Ace Dragons, then it's quite smooth with Rocks, and then Glyph Dragon actually they've got quite a bit of texture to it, so it feels sort of rough, but that's just to give us that slight more movement, whereas because that curve takes away so much of the movement, they want to give us back a little bit, so they've given it that much more of a rough surface than the other two. And yeah, that's the difference there between those three. And then we'll do a quick comparison with the Takira Tomy one here. So exclusion of metal, which is obvious from the TT one with the Hasbro. And then we've got the very tip itself, so you can see the change there, which is necessary for that Hypersphere movement that we get. And other than that, design is almost identical. We've got all those ridges surrounding the tip of the tip here, and yeah, weight difference is going to be quite large. Other than that, yeah, everything else is the same. So let's piece this guy together and have a feel of the slopes. Oh, let's get this guy together, and here we go with the initial resistance, which is quite strong actually. There we go, got him on now, so some good initial resistance there. And then that continues through the slope as well. It loosens off a bit as we get towards the end. Nice angle, it feels like, to the slope, and yeah, that's quite strong. So really good slopes on this guy. And let's get out the stadium and finish off with a test launch. We've got our stadium all set up now, ready for the test launch, and let's do this. 3, 2, 1, let it rip. So some initial movement there, but not a lot if you're talking Hypersphere terms here for movements. We're settling back down that lower section, so not able to pick itself up out of there any longer. Looks like we're running smoothly, all those colors blending together, and it does look like it's going to be going for a while here. Yeah, well, so I probably won't let this last bit go until it runs out. That'll be it from me for this upload, folks. I hope you liked the video, and until next time, let me just grab this. Enjoy the rest of your day.